Hello again, grown Black folks talk. What wise Black women know about emotional control and discipline. You may have observed, if you've been on this channel for a while, that there are a lot of hot topics that are going on in the Black community we simply do not cover. And you do notice that when we do have hot button issues, we do cover them in a very thoughtful way. Part of this has to do with the fact that as a Black woman, I understand that a lot of the trouble that we get into and a lot of the delusions that we swallow, because I talked about my grandmother's wisdom in the last video, have to do with the fact that we are led away by our emotional setup. And if you live in a community where people have been traumatized and purposely damaged for 403 years and it has now become a part of us to then perpetuate the damage upon one another, this is going to become both very difficult and also absolutely essential. And these are not aspects of control over others, because so oftentimes, because we have bought down these habits of slavery, and because so often we do not want to stop oppression so much as we want to become the oppressor. Because here's the thing, if we were told that we were not human, and we believe that, the only human models we have were of human beings who were oppressors. So to be human, to achieve humanity, is to be an oppressor. That was the message given to our ancestors. And for us to come out of that, we would have to reach beyond the limitations of our ancestors. Now, there's no excuse for us today, none whatsoever, except that the culture that you are handed from your family and the limitations of that are generally stronger than the outside messages and information that you can get unless you seek the proper knowledge. But in order to get this knowledge, you're going to be challenged mentally, spiritually, intellectually, and emotionally. Because a lot of things we think are true and necessary in this society are not. I'm going to put a video, I'm actually going to put two videos by Alicia Renice, the artist. Black Excellence is a scam, followed by the live video she made for the reactions to that video. The idea that we have to pursue being perfectly Americanized and that we have to pursue proving our worth to each other by how much money we can produce and how many things that we can correspondingly own. These are all things that absolutely make no logical sense except for the fact that we are being led by our traumatized emotions. And that same reaction is keeping us from actually mastering the systems and the skills necessary to be able to earn a livelihood without having to be constantly clawing and scratching. The 21st century is unique in that truly money can be made algorithmically. That is, there are systems that are available whereby if you simply learn how to work the systems, they will produce money for you 100% of the time. Maybe not as much as you might want. It may take you a long time to build things up, but I'm a witness that algorithmically, once you learn how to master certain systems, they generate money for you. The result of you having learned how to work these things. These are not systems that are constantly telling you less than because you're Black. They're computers. They're based on computers. They are not checking for the racial box. They're not checking for the gender box. There's nobody sitting somewhere like, oh, wait, that's a fat Black woman, 41 years old, who's post-wall. We can't let her have anything. There's nobody checking for that. Now, there are people that gravitate to these systems that would do that if they could, but they actually can't, at least not yet. There's nobody checking there to check you at the door. There's a wonderful YouTube channel called for gentlemen, JT's Automations. And JT's Automations, he's a young Black man, maybe younger than I am, maybe more like 35, 36, maybe even 30, who's featuring other Black men who are doing amazing things with the technology that exists today. But here's the thing, they will lay out the system. They will even reveal who they're working with so that you can begin to work with these people. But guess what? Every single channel that I have looked at, JT used to be JT's Hustles, but now he's JT's Automations because he's moved on to working with systems. that and the people that he's talking to are sharing the knowledge because you don't have to compete with them. There's enough for everybody because this is systematized work. But let me tell you why also there will not be much competition. If you don't have emotional control and discipline, you're not going to learn these systems. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to. The people that have set up the way these things work have set them up in such a way that your creativity does not make the least bit of difference. In fact, as I was looking at some of the seminars and trainings that I'm doing right now, they literally are boring me to sleep. But the great thing about being in the 21st century is if you get bored to sleep, you just wake up and go back and watch it again. But in traditional school settings, this is not possible. If you miss the class, you miss the class. And you might get flunked for falling asleep. But here's what happens. Even for someone who is quite emotionally disciplined, my creative mind is bored to tears. But I have the discipline necessary to go back and read it again. Go back and look at it again. I have the emotional control necessary so that the annoyance of being bored is not enough to make me stop doing it. The annoyance of being bored is not enough for me to say, you know what, I'm too talented for this. I shouldn't have to learn this. Because see, ain't nobody out here doing this. As a graphic designer, hold on a second. As a graphic designer, ain't nobody out here doing this. Ain't nobody out here doing ain't nobody out here talking about stellar motherhood. Ain't nobody creating nothing like this. I ought to be able to just throw this on a book cover and I won't be just fine. Ain't nobody out here doing this. All these different people that need low content. Ain't nobody out here doing this. I should be just fine. And while I'm on the subject, ain't nobody out here doing this. Ain't nobody ever seen some of the stuff I have. So I ought to be able to just throw it out here. I don't need all these systems and all these keywords and all this and all that and all this and all that. And this is how highly creative people who don't have emotional control end up in the red on this. Because whether we like it or not, no, the world is not necessarily locked down for you to have to go work with the man and look him in the face and say yes, a boss to make money. But even he has moved to the point where either you understand the systems or you don't. And as Black women, there's a lot of money available to us. A lot of our argument is just, we are at a moment where we cannot rely necessarily on Black men to provide for us in America. That's part of the argument. But at the same time, what does this mean? If government assistance is not going to be enough, and it's not, this is not even counting Republicans coming back into office because eventually they will. But it's just because inflation is going to beat up on your ability to do the amount of government assistance that people get is not going to keep up with inflation. It's not. So if you feel that you cannot work with Black men, if government assistance is not going to be enough, there is definitely still money to be made. Even in a recession, there will be money to be made. There will still be things that people need that think are going to better their situation and give them a way out of their situation, even if a global recession or even a global depression hits. This will still be true. But you have to be willing at some point to submit to something. Control and discipline are two different things. Control has to do with the fact that, when you get hit with something that immediately is upsetting, can you control yourself enough to respond and not react? Discipline has to do with the way you just practice your life from day to day. Do you have enough emotional discipline to be able to do the things that are hard and do not make you happy long enough to actually learn something? There are definitely systems available that will make you the kind of money you need to begin to move out of the rat race. Now, I'm gonna put Alicia releases 2 videos. You can get your thoughts going. I'm gonna put JT Automations in there for you gentlemen. For the ladies, I'm gonna put Stephanie Perry's channel and Rashida Dow. She's on a loose channel because they're talking about how to make enough money to live abroad in case you really don't want to deal with the American system anymore. But even so, the point I'm making is no matter what these 3 individuals show you, you're going to have to humble yourself and learn how to do what it is that they are teaching you in order to find your way to freedom. I keep telling y'all, earned income is not, well, go this way. Forget it's reversed. Earned income is not the only thing that's out there. Blood, sweat, and tears. It's red for blood. Blood, sweat, and tears right here. Everybody thinks people keep arguing with Alicia about we can't do this and we can't do that, and we can't, because they're only thinking about earned income. That's right. If all you know is 9 to 5, there's a lot of stuff you can't do. Investment income, you get into the black. We out here spending money on retail and putting other people into the black, which is where you have profit. That's business income. And of course, investment income, they're the green. You learn how to put money somewhere where it'll grow. Even in a global recession, people are putting money in different places because they know it's going to come back. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to do this, and I'm not saying that everybody knows how to do it getting out of the gate. But it is something to consider, something to learn. While the market is down, this is a good time to learn and to learn how to do investments and get ready. All of these things are available, but all of them require you to control the part of you that is always looking to be excited and stimulated and loud and this and that, always looking to be bored, to be distracted off of the thing, to be distracted and to be hyped up. All this stuff has to be put to the side. You have to have the discipline to do things that are hard because they're not the most interesting. And by the way, I'm single, but I do know this: friendship is work, family is work. You have to do your best to invest in the relationships. I know that. And in the relationships where there were people that I truly loved, there was still a great deal of investment of time and energy. Even with things having not worked out, I can say that I worked the best I knew how. And there's no reason for me to say anything about whatever anybody else did or did not do at this moment. Because all I'm talking about is the work. All I'm talking about is the work. When there were good times, it's because the work was able to be done together. Sometimes in concert with community. And sometimes community failures also put way too much strain. Community takes work. Working in the Black community be hard. African American, vernacular English, and all. It's not that it is hard. No, it be hard. Last week, it was tough. Really tough. Everything that has value and is worth doing takes a certain amount of investment. And in the evil world, if you're not struggling with others, your real competition is the version of you that doesn't want to be bothered. I, after having sinus problems all of yesterday and half of today, I was not trying to be bothered with some seminars. And some tutorials. Now I learned a ton of stuff about why certain people get their things done on Amazon and certain people do not. And the thing about it is, I have to have the discipline to, after I haven't finished watching it, I've had to break this down because I can only take in so much while I'm feeling the way I'm feeling right now. So not only do I have to finish watching the seminar, I then have to break it down and watch it again to make sure that I actually understand. And then I have to put it up there again and actually start doing the work. Is this the most creative thing in the world? And by the way, he said, yeah, 90% of what you're doing is actually going to be research and 10% is creating it. Do you think that a major creative wants to do that? Boredom City. Boredom City. However, is it necessary for me to do that to not be? Because again, the easiest thing for me to do in the world, given the creative ability that I have, even as a visual artist, is just throw stuff at the wall. Because I am prolific as a writer, I have been able to just find a system that works for that and throw stuff at the wall every single day, sometimes as much as 3 to 4 times a day, using music and using writing, sometimes 21 to 28 times a week, and build up a nice little emergency fund should I need it. and maybe a little bit more depending on the price of Hive on a given day. Can it be done that way? Yes. Is that maxed out and topped out? Yes, it has. There's a bear market going on. So I have to accept that the time I was putting in there, I now have to put into learning something different. There's always going to be another opportunity, but you have to have the discipline to admit to yourself what is really going on, humble yourself, and get after it. And if you cannot do that, you will fail in the most abundant time when the abundant access to abundance is available to everybody. And the problem about failing because you do not have emotional discipline or control is the potential of sinking into the permanent underclass. The opportunities that everybody has today, they will not have forever. Right now, Black men and women have time and access to both do productive things and be yelling and screaming and acting a complete fool with each other if they want to do it. That may not happen. That may not last forever. One of the other reasons that we don't do that over here is because I am not called to provide a platform for nonsense. I am called to provide a place we can have the conversations we need to have and discuss the things we need to do in a way that assists us in preparing to seize opportunity, in a way that has the emotional control and discipline for us to think instead of just reacting emotionally. Now, shameless plug. A lot of the control and the discipline that you see is spiritual in base. And it's not, I'm a Christian, quote unquote. I am a Christian, but it's not just that I go to church. It's not even that I just believe that Christ has saved me from my sins. That actually goes with a whole true Christianity goes with a lifestyle. And that lifestyle includes what you are supposed to invest your mind in and what you are not supposed to invest your mind in. Shameless plug for the Sobering October Bible study. Because we're going to talk about how do you train your brain and how do you train your spirit to be able to choose a life of self-control and discipline such that you can use your time productively in every aspect of your life. We're going to actually get into that there. The earliest day that can start is the 3rd of October. It may be the 10th instead. I've got to get I still haven't got my outline completely together because I'm just finishing off. By the time you see this, there's one day left of the September to Remember Bible study, which will come out tomorrow, relative to when you see this. So I am on this channel providing, from a Christian perspective, the spiritual resources to help us be able to do this. But it's something everybody has to choose for themselves because Black women, again, there are opportunities out there where they're not checking for your age. They're not checking for, are you a dark-skinned Black woman, a medium-skinned Black woman, or a light-skinned Black woman? They're not checking for your grade of hair. They're not checking for how old you are and what you weigh. But it is going to take a higher level of weaning oneself off of drama and being able to endure being bored silly long enough to get the information. Now, as I learn these things, I hopefully can come back and teach these things. Like eventually, I'll come back and crypto. I don't know if it's bottomed out yet. I'm not trying to get y'all in here and let y'all first week be, oh my gosh, it dropped another $5,000. We're not trying to do none of that. But hopefully, I can present some things to you about my experiences. I'm not a financial advisor in a more engaging way. But you must submit yourself to learning how to learn and follow a system. And if you can learn and train your brain to do this, literally, the gates to wealth are open. And there are no gatekeepers such that you cannot walk on in. And gentlemen, to be fair, same thing here. A whole lot of Black men are out of control on their emotions, sitting up there yelling about everybody being the fault of them not being able to get ahead. And it's just like, Tony Gaskins, JT Automations, Ken Billions, thank you to True Mystique for pointing him out, and Anthony O'Neill have been sitting up here for a long time talking about how you get out of that particular situation. It is nobody's fault but yours that you're not paying attention to the right people. We have a lot of the same problems as Black men and women. And I like to think that if we could just buckle down and solve our problems individually And then collectively among our sisters and brothers, at some point we will be healed enough to return to each other. But can't be worried about that. We got to get off first base. Got to come away from drama. And we got to better our own individual situations before we can better our family situations and better our collective situations. So let's get off first base. Let's get off first base. We have to learn how to develop the emotional control and discipline necessary to do the hard things. And in this specific occasion, I'm talking about actually learning the systems that help us get ready to create wealth for ourselves. Or at least, but let's start here. That doesn't happen overnight. At least get to the point where we can begin to move in that direction, shall we say. And then for ourselves and then for whatever generations we may have afterwards. All right. That was for the wise. No hot topics yet this month. No hot topics this week. It'll be Wednesday when you see this. There's a lot going on, but I'm really focusing on those things that can really help us to move on to the next stage. Please check the description. There will be two videos from Alicia Manice, the artist, that I really hope that you take the time to break down and listen to. Break them down. They're rather lengthy, but it'll be to your benefit to listen to them. And then also you'll find 3 channels: JT Automation, Stephanie Perry, and also Sheeta's on the Loose. And they're going to give you a lot of ideas about how to really prepare to live a very different kind of life. And they're going to give you access to resources. And all you have to do is follow the path and not get so resistant to it. Emotion that you cannot control your emotions, and stay on course. That's all you got to do. Sometime later, I will talk to y'all about Book Boat. It's kicking my butt, but I have the emotional discipline to just run it back and go understand. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Thank you for listening. Oh, and welcome to my new subscribers. Goodbye. And thank you for the older ones that have also stayed with me. Okay, that's the longest goodbye. Anyway, goodbye.